Hey role players, it's the Bard here, welcome back to the corner. So what is it about some people that you just don't enjoy their game?
What if I wanted to break, laugh it all off in your face?
Sometimes I've been in games where I've heard people say, there's too much action, or there's not enough action. There's too linear a story, or there's too open-ended a story. Or there's not enough investigation, or there's too much investigation. The fact remains is that certain games are built for certain aspects. You play a game of like Call of Cthulhu, it's going to be about investigation. You're not going to be getting into combat, and if you are, it's probably going to mean the death of a character. What we need to understand is it's not the game or even the way it's really being run. The actual truth of the matter is you don't trust your GM.
What if I fell to the floor, couldn't take this anymore?
So this video has come about as a result of a discussion with a fellow player and fellow GM, and the two of us were discussing. We were saying, well, I don't think certain games are going to work, and I don't think it'll go, this person's way, or I don't think this is going to happen, or they're not going to be happy if people don't do the things that they suggest. I just thought about that, and I compared it to some of the more experienced GMs that I've worked with in the past. The games that I enjoy are the ones where I feel free to create and play my character the way I want to. At the same time, I think in games like this, you want to escape from reality and you want to rise to greatness. You don't want to be kept down all the time. And that's another thing that kind of gets under my skin. The whole point of being these characters is that you're cut above everyone else. What would be the point in playing the same kind of people that you are in real life? Because, we're just everyday people. We're not heroes, but you want to experience that feeling of doing something brilliant and heroic. So, you should be allowed to have that. There's a vast amount of difference between having a challenge put in front of you and seeing the world around you and not feeling a part of it and not feeling like you're having any influence in it. It's okay to have things that are more powerful than you, but when you constantly feel like your role is to deal with the scrubs and not to take on the main source of evil, if that as an example, then you just feel like your character's in the backdrop as opposed to in the limelight, because that's where your characters should be. They should be the main focus, and your GM should make you think that your characters are the ones who are going to save the world, because really that's what you're out to do. What games like D&D, Diablo, Final Fantasy, World of Warcraft, what games like this do is they masterfully trigger the hunter-gatherer instinct within people. So the point is, you want that experience, okay? You want to develop your character. You kind of hunger for this, to get more and more points to develop your character with. And in the same breath, you also hunger to get more and more equipment, because better equipment means, more interesting and more easier fights, or, perhaps it means just a different style of combat. But whatever the reason is, they add another layer and they make you hunger and hunger for more. And every game, has this to a degree, whether it's some form of experience or some form of weapon or some form of, covetable thing. In any respect, you want it and you want to get it and you're out to get it. But if your GM is there saying, nah, I'm not going to let you have any equipment, or I'm going to keep your characters really low level, then you just think, well, why am I bothering? I mean, I enjoy humble beginnings. I love characters that are low level myself, but only because they will grow. I know that they will grow. I know that they will get stronger. I understand the challenges that they face in the beginning, okay, and I know that in some way they're going to overcome that. But I don't like it when a GM says stuff like, "Oh well, you kind of just scraped through that one, but don't worry, it's only going to get harder." I say, well, if it's going to get harder, equip us for that. If we're not going to get the chance to make our own gear, then we at least need to find some gear. Do you get what I mean? Without progression in any sense, then there's just stagnation. So if you're moving forward and you're getting better, then everything, that happens around that has to increase. It's like when you work. You work, you do your job, you get better at it, you get entrusted with more opportunities and more responsibilities, and you'll get given the tools to do your job better. And it's exactly the same in role-playing. So why would you not want your characters or your players to advance in the same way? Because that is real life. Characters advance, people advance. They get better at what they do, and they get better tools to do their job with even more proficiency.
What if I wanted to fight back for the rest of my life?
Of course, we need challenges within our games, but there is a divide between being challenged and just being overshadowed. I mean, we want to experience game in a particular way, but you can't have every game be the same. If you're in a heroic D&D, it can't always be like in survival mode. You have to have those instances where you're just blowing apart hordes of screaming orcs and goblins. There are going to be times when you're on the run, when you're being chased by, I don't know, Tarask or whatever. But at the same time, you can't just be on the downer all the time, and you can't always be like super powerful all the time. It should be risk versus reward. It should be the potential of harm or damage or death versus wealth and fame and glory. I mean, some of these principles will obviously change depending on the game, but the basic fundamental, mechanic is the same. There has to be risk and there has to be reward. If all you're getting is risk, you don't feel like you're gaining anything. Whereas if all you're getting is reward, then there's no reason to fear death or to fear loss. There's always got to be balance. There's always got to be a driving, motivating factor. And if it's not one or the other, or if there's too much of one or the other, then that's when you start to lose faith in your GM. And this is what all of this is going to come back to. I mean, we can see this wonderfully reflected in real life. If you look at anyone who's poor or, is homeless, they're so miserable and down and constantly feel like the world's against them. Some people just have no incentive to get up and go anywhere because they just feel doomed to failure. I mean, on the opposite side of the scale, if you're someone who's born into wealth, you don't understand challenge, you don't understand risk, you have nothing that motivates you. You're already comfortable and, you're happy to just coast along. There's no growth in that. When something does come along and it challenges you and it makes you question things, then some of these people, they just break down because they have no concept of what it is to experience hardship or difficulty, and they just can't cope with it. In any game like this, you have to have some sort of humble beginning, and you have to have some kind of foreseeable goal and some form of character development to get you from being a little bit more than nothing to actually something and someone. These are the tales that the bards sing of. These are the people who've gone from nothing and made their lives. And again, it's exactly a perfect reflection of real life. Someone who's had nothing or had so little and then just made something of themselves. They're the inspirational tales that you hear of in games, but you also hear of in life. We are responsible at the end of the day because it's a two-way street. GMs should be asking for feedback on their games. Players should be honest about their expectations and their desires within the campaign. When a GM asks, did that go okay? They're not asking just to get a bit of praise. They should be asking because they genuinely need you to tell them, look, this didn't work. Or I don't think that we're advancing as fast as we should be. Or I think, we're outpacing the monsters. They're too easy for us. We don't feel like we're getting anywhere, or we don't think that we're achieving anything as of yet, or we just have no idea where the story's going. Whatever your problem is, if your GM is doing some or all of those things that we've just talked about, or other things that because there are going to be a myriad of things that your GM does. There's a difference between thinking, well, I don't really know where my GM is going with this, and then the excitement of the not knowing. It boils down to the trust that you have in your GM, or that the GM has in their players. And if it's not there, then it's always going to be looked at in the opposite sense. It's not you're trying to get stronger. It's I'm always, just below the level that I need to be. It's not, it's the excitement of, getting stronger, or the excitement of not knowing what's around the corner. It's always, I don't feel like it's going anywhere. There's always this balance issue, and it's just finding that point where you trust your GM enough that they're making the game the experience that you want it to be. Because when you don't, it just feels like you're plodding along. And then, when you get to that point, it's really hard to do, but you have to assess, is it because the game is not what I enjoy? Or is it because, I haven't been honest with my GM in my feedback? I haven't told them what I want. I haven't told them what I expect. It's a very, very hard thing to tell your friends they're not doing it the way it ought to be done. It's a hard thing to do, but it's the best thing that you can do for everyone to enjoy themselves. I mean, this should be easier than we're making it. Art imitates life, and we are people playing as other people. So it shouldn't really be difficult for us to voice and communicate what it is we think is going on. Now, I don't presume to tell you what, the problems that you're having in your game. But if you are experiencing some or any of the things that I've covered, or things that are relatable, then, you can tell me about it. And, we can discuss. We can have a back and forth in the comments section. That's cool. Unfortunately, what I can't do is to give you any faith in, the people around you who you're playing the game with. So, it's just something that you got to work on. Like I said, feedback. It's the number one tool you have. And the same, goes for me in the comments section. Feedback. If people want something from me as a gamer, or as a GM, or even as a content creator, it's great to have the comments there, the feedback. It helps me to make better things. It helps me to understand people's needs. It's all valuable. So make sure you leave, comments, questions, likes, get subscribed, all that kind of stuff. And if you are having issues, like I said, I'll try and help you if you want me to. And with that being said, I will see you guys next time at the gaming table.